So many people nowadays think they're afraid of change, but they're not. They're afraid of losing a life they've come to predict, even if that life makes them unhappy. The brain always takes the route of less resistance. It's lazy. If being able to understand your situation and knowing what could happen eventually in your situation, 9 times out of 10 you will stay there. Comfort in knowing outweighs the risk of not. Everyone's brain is biologically hardwired to prioritize safety through predictability. Uncertainty breeds worries and anxiety. I've grown up a lot around people in my life who would rather live stationary than momentarily, and while most people want change, a lot fall short in doing so. Don't jump into the water without knowing what's in it sort of mentality. The best analogy I can think for it is sort of like, imagine you're going out for a walk. You've taken this trail a couple times and know how to get home, but what if one day the trail home is overgrown with plants, making it uncomfortable to pass through? However, a new trail just opened up. The sign says it will take 10 minutes longer than the one you'd usually take. A lot of people would rather grin and bear the uncomfortable thorns and branches than explore the new path. But why? Just because the other path is unknown? At least you could predict the other one, but doesn't that make you miss out on life? Meanwhile, as you're getting scratched and battered on the old path, the new path could have taken you to one of the best views of your entire life. Yes, it's 10 minutes longer, but you'll most likely have spent that time on the old path avoiding the hazards anyway. That's the fear of change, the what if alongside the I don't know, a biological code wired into our every thoughts. Throughout my life, this has been the ultimate battle. Someone like me who finds comfort in the past struggles immensely to forge a new beginning. The other day I needed new shoes, since my old ones had holes in them. I knew later on that day I'd be skating, and it'd probably be best to have a new pair so I don't rip holes in my socks, since my old shoes are practically torn apart. But for some reason, I didn't buy the new shoes. I'd rather know how my old ones with holes feel than risk having a pair that might be uncomfortable or might cause rubbing. Might. See, this is the issue. No one knows, and that's scary. The might or might not is what keeps people locked in their old habits and self-destructive environments most of the time. Later on that day, I ended up ripping a hole in my sock anyway, like I predicted. So while I might have had uncomfortable shoes for a little bit, I now definitely have uncomfortable socks and shoes, as well as the fact that I still need a new pair anyway. The fear of change and uncertainty in what could be. I think today's society clashes heavily with the biological prioritization through predictability in order to feel safe. 1,000 years ago, this would have been to our advantage. Don't cross the river if you don't know what's in it. Don't interact with new animals if you don't know what they are. And don't climb something if you don't know if it can support your weight, etc. The fear of new and change was made to keep us safe. You didn't survive by foolishly taking risks. But something's different now. Back then, we didn't know it all, while now, most people would rather not know at all. The world is no longer fresh in terms of information. We now know what's safe and what's not, what things do and how things work. 100% of Earth's surface has been mapped, with 85 to 90% of that being physical exploration of untouched wilderness. You have the most powerful device ever made in the history of man in your hands and pocket. Anything you're unsure about can be solved with a couple taps on your phone. So why are we still afraid of the unknown? This is where society has clashed a little, I think. Our brains are still hardwired to fear change physically regarding our health. While fearing your health is not a major issue like it was hundreds of years ago, now it's almost obsolete. You don't have to fear if something could hurt you, because now you can just check on your phone. That fear of something new physically has almost been eradicated in most circumstances. But that's not the issue. Most people are scared to take part in something new, not because it's damaging for your body, but because it could be damaging for your mental health. I'm not saying this wasn't part of the equation thousands of years ago, but it just seems different now. People will stay their entire lives in one spot because it's comfortable and predictable. They waste time trying to understand the future while the world around them passes. And what for? If you were to suddenly move house today to some random place, it's not going to cause you any physical harm. Thousands of years ago, we moved all the time. It was seen as bizarre to stay in one place for too long. But now? Staying still and doing nothing feels better. Staying mentally stagnant feels more comfortable. This world has given us so much freedom that some people forget to use it. Obviously, not everyone is able to move places, that's just an obtuse example. But what's stopping you from trying new food? Or trying a new hobby? Or buying that new game you've always wanted? This world has built us such a fortified blanket of comfort that our brains in a strand of desperation have formed anxieties and emotional distress to change over psychological needs rather than the physical. We're more afraid as a species of discomfort from change mentally rather than danger from something new physically. Obviously, this isn't the major problem. A lot of people still fear the new for their physical health, and that's completely normal. But fearing something because you can't predict how it'll make you feel mentally, it's a new one. And I think that's why so many people today struggle with breaking free from their mental cage and experiencing more than you are now. Change is scary, yes, but that's just part of our brain. If something is new, our minds play cautious to that. You don't survive by taking unnecessary risks. But as a species, those risks are not the same dangers posed to us before technology. Our fears are mostly answered. and in a strange turn of events, people seem scared of change because they want to feel comfortable. This calls back to the analogy I gave earlier on. You would rather take the predictable path than the new one, but why? Is it the fear of getting lost on the new path, or is your brain more worried that you won't make it home to your bed? In a state of anxiety, you take the predictable path, even if it hurts more. For some reason, painful situations feel safer than the unknown. You'd rather sit indoors and feel comfortable than step onto the path forward. Yet while that feels safer, you inadvertently damage your mental health and interrupt the process for growth. By staying still, your brain has nothing to do but think in its comfortable state. But this isn't natural. Our brains weren't designed to have everything hand-fed and shielded from us. And in the last-ditch effort, we subconsciously form worries that aren't exactly real momentarily. Anxieties. Our brains sort of lash out from the confusion. They're not used to everything being okay. Our biological programming still thinks there's always a threat. And that's where the dangerous loop is fed. You're scared of change because it's uncomfortable, but your brain frantically creates anxieties due to lack of change. It needs the stimulation that is ultimately depriving from itself. And that's where the problem lies in this modern day society. A blanket too comforting for a species that wasn't quite ready. Annoyingly, the only way I've found to break this cycle is to jump into the water, even if you don't know what's in it. The loop is vicious and can't be broken with a quiet mind most of the time. The only way to sever the change is to take that leap, even if you don't know where you'll fall. Obviously, I don't mean literally jump, that's just an imaginary anecdote. And instead of taking unnecessary risks to feed the brain, take calculated ones to help train it. Maybe book a trip camping, or go rock climbing, safely of course. Or even try something new like a different coffee at another shop. If something feels scary because it's new, remember that you can always check the risks, but that shouldn't stop you from living. In my example, I skateboard. I know the risks and I know that I could get seriously hurt, so instead of jumping straight into something, I'll work myself up to it and prepare myself on how to do it. For example, dropping in on a 10-foot ramp was absolutely terrifying to me, but as I'm worrying about what might happen if I fall, my brain stops focusing on the other things, the small mental issues. Don't be afraid to change. Change can hurt, it can feel uncomfortable, but it's better to stimulate yourself with something new occasionally than deprive it from living life. I think change is one of the biggest issues in today's world. I think not enough people step out their comfort zones and express themselves in ways they thought they never would. If you got this far in the video, please make sure to subscribe. It means so much to me and I'm so grateful. And next time something feels scary, maybe think back on this and remember that you can always check the risks, but you'll never be able to know the outcome until you try. And what is something new that you'd like to try but haven't because of the fear of change? And what is something new you'd like to try but you never have because of the fear of change?